Good morning, all. Welcome to today's video. I'll take you through Jada Payroll. I'll take you through the features and what the application is capable of. So good. So I'll take you right into the login page. So Jada is e-commerce driven. So the moment you sign up, it will actually send you through your email the credentials, both the links and also your, you'll be able to set up your credentials in terms of what username you want to use as an email and also your password. So for the demo, we are going to go through a database called JSL Jada, which is a Jada Software Limited. So I'll log in with my credentials. In my password. Good, we are in. So immediately you log in, we land onto the dashboard. And on the right side, you can actually see it gives you your current period, of which is very important in payroll. Your head count, that is a number of total active employees, and obviously your license. And it also shows you your login details, okay? That it shows the name of the user logged in, okay? Good. So for the purposes of the payroll demo, before I go in, obviously on the left, you can actually see we have the main navigation. This is what which will allow you to switch between the modules. So for today, we'll really dwell on the payroll module. But before we go into the payroll module, there are some shared features and administration that I'd like to show you. Okay. So one of the main features will be the periods. Obviously, you're actually able to set up the company and also set up the details and also put in your logo, which is very, very important. And most of this information is what you'll actually set up when you're doing the online registration through our e-commerce. Okay. Payroll period is very important. You notice that when you create a database through our e-commerce, it defaults to the current month. So like for today, we're in the month of June. So it will actually create for you the active period as June. But through the payroll periods, it allows you to come in and change and put in the active period. Okay, so if June was your active period, you'll be able to come here and amend it, okay, or change it so that now you're able to have that. I think it is a practice in payroll to start the payroll, maybe, or many people will prefer to start at January, so that by the end of the processing, they have a full P9 card. So it is obviously depending on what you prefer, okay? Another thing that will be important is what we call departments. Departments will also come in handy, especially where you want to split your payroll costs. So if you want at the end of the day, Jada to send a journal, maybe to another accounting system, let's say, for example, Sage Pastel, then, and you want to split the cost to different GL accounts on your income statement, then the departments will really come in handy. Okay, so we'll see how that also. Another feature is cost centers. Cost centers is more of a flexible feature, allowing you now, apart from now taking cost directly to one, say, GL account, cost centers will be more of a transactional feature that will allow you also to split costs and also have different, say, employees working in different departments, and you also want to have those costs maybe through proportionate allocation shared amongst different cost centers. Okay. Good. The other thing that I'd like to show you is on user rights. Okay. So Jada has a very, I'll say, elaborate rights matrix where it will allow you to assign very specific rights for each user and allowing you to really say what the person can do to a very high extent. So like for this matrix, you can see it gives you the modules and also what the person is able to do, whether they are able to, like in these accounting periods, whether they're able to add accounting periods, whether they're able to just see the list, whether they're able to edit, whether they're able to delete or view reports, okay? And it's for each and every area of the application, okay? Good, so now this is a shared area. So now I'll go into the payroll so that I show you a bit of what we have on the payroll. So I'll start off with under payroll module, you have the employee feature, which is really the process that is leading to setting up the employee biodata and having them with all the information that is required for them to be processed on the payroll, okay? So we have an analytic feature called the employee category. So it will allow you to have different categories so that when you're running your reports, you can actually use this feature to actually filter reports on the different categories. And it's also pegged on a pay frequency. So you could also want people paid in different frequencies. So like, let's say, like interns here maybe are paid weekly, but maybe the rest of the team are paid monthly. So you can actually peg that on the category feature, okay? Groups is a more important feature in that it actually holds a bit more in terms of what you want to default on an employee when you create them, and also if there are exemptions, okay? So for here, I have like 3 different groups, and I'll want to open up one that we are calling the permanent group just to explain more. So what happens is that the application will allow you to have default payroll codes. So we'll come to what we mean by payroll codes shortly, but it will allow you to now maintain whenever you create someone and assign them the category, the group of permanent employees, then they will actually be assigned this monthly personal relief. If there's any other common code, let's say, for example, there's a common pension, there's a common deduction, you can actually always maintain it here on the default payroll codes. And then there's also the section on exemptions. Exemptions now come in handy whereby the employee is actually exempt from some of the statutory deductions. So an example will be if for your organization, you're not using maybe the new NSSF system and you're using the old, then you can actually do that by picking on exemptions. Exemptions are also period driven. So on my application, we're in the month of April. So here it will allow me to come. So let's say, for example, I wanted to exempt someone for, I can actually come here and select it and actually say, this person is exempt. So when you're processing the payroll, it will actually be able to pick up that and say the people in that group should be exempt from that NSSF, okay? Good. So that is for groups. Go back to employees. So there's also on pay frequency. So you're able to set as many pay frequencies as you have in your organization. It allows you to have the monthly or the weekly. I think commonly, mostly people will use a monthly, but you can have, depending on the organization. Some also do it bi-weekly. So you can always have a new pay frequency added and you're able to assign that to the employees, okay? Pay mode, on the other hand, now this one is how you're going to make payments to employees, okay? And also the system will allow you to have a hybrid. Some can be paid on cash, others can be paid on transfers to the bank through EFTs or also through M-Pesa. So, and you can also be able to add as many pay modes as you require, okay? Good, pay points. Pay points now will allow you, this feature will be commonly used for 2 things. Mostly if you have branches and you want people in different branches to be paid from different bank accounts, then you can use the pay point feature. Or you actually have a scenario whereby your employees are paid in different currencies. So you could have employees paid in the local Kenya shilling currency or paid in US dollars. you can actually use the pay point to separate them, so that now you're able to separate different bank files for each currency, because you can obviously not mix them up. Okay. Or if, like I said, you can have a head office or a branch scenario whereby you want the branch paid from the branch that is near them, or you want the other one paid from the head office in a different, you can actually use the pay point feature for that. Okay, good. Before I go to employee, I'll jump a bit. I'll go to what we call the bank setups. So on the bank setups or the bank codes, we've actually uploaded, maybe through the Kenya Bankers list, approved list, a list of the current bank accounts, all the bank branches, all the bank, the different banks that we have locally, their branches, and also their codes, which is very important when you're going to use the EFT feature to pay your employees. Because the moment now you're selecting an employee's bank, you're actually able to assign the correct branch code and the correct bank code, and obviously the branch. Okay. So we can go on to the employee. So on the employee, the system allows you to create as many employees as you require. And you'll also notice from the e-commerce, our pricing is also driven by the number of employees. So you can actually be able to select the number of employees that you expect to have on your payroll. Okay, so for creating employees, you have two ways of going about it. You have the batch entry and you have the add new or a single addition. So what happens is that if you already have your information maybe already in a spreadsheet somewhere in Excel, you can actually be able to use the batch entry to upload the file. So the system allows you to select to send a format on Excel, and then you're able to upload that. So that now you're able to do to bring in quite a number of employees at the same time. Or you could already have a new setup and you have very, very many employees. So instead of someone entering them one by one, you can actually have them formatted in Excel and then uploaded. Or you could be adding one or two employees into your payroll. So you can always use the add new feature and it's going to take you through the process. Okay. But I'll pick one of the employees, like for this case, I'll pick this Daniel, just to try to show you the kind of information that is required to be set up. Okay, good. So for this person called Daniel, the application has the features that has the details that you need to save or to store for each user. So you have the basic information where you're able to put in their names, their full names, their payroll number, their identification, whether it's national ID or passport, obviously their date of birth, their marital status, their dependencies, and also next of kin relationship. And also importantly is the disability, of which you are able to put a comment on the nature of disability, of which this will have a tax kind of advantage in that there are some tax benefits for people with disability. You're also able to maintain the contact information. How do you get hold of Daniel? Both in terms of telephone numbers, emails, and also their postal and physical address. You're able to maintain their statutory numbers. Obviously, this will be very important when you're generating the byproducts or you're doing the iTax uploads. Then you need to have all the details well saved right in here or well uploaded. Okay, good. The financial information, obviously showing whether someone is the employment date, whether they are terminated. And also here is where also we put in their pay mode, the pay point, and also their bank details. Okay, like I've shown you in terms of selecting. Now, if you've already have the file up to date, your work will be easy just to select the bank code and the branch code, and you're able to put in their bank details, and you're able to have that information stored ready to use for generating the bank file. Then finally, we have what we call the other information. On other information, now is where you're able to put in their department, their cost center, their categories, their groups, position, and then the username and password. This one's now, whenever you're creating an employee and you put the username, you're actually able to, each employee will be able to log in through what we call the self-service to generate their own payslip, P9, and they'll also be able to apply their leave from there. We'll get onto that later on. Okay. Good. Then also we can go on to now processing. Now we are done with the employee. We have all the details. I want to show you two things that are very important. I know when you are looking at exemptions, you got to see what we are talking about in terms of payroll codes. So in the system, we've actually stored all the possible parameters in terms of both earnings, deductions, benefits, how the taxes are calculated, the allowable tax deductions. And that is what we are calling payroll codes. Okay, so you can have them all here. So like an example is what you're calling maybe in terms of an earning. Okay, so you can actually search for, let's say, want to see what we have under. So under earnings, so they're also coded depending on what they stand for. So like E is for earning. So like we have already a basic payroll code preset in the system. And also it's defined whether it's recurring or whether it's a formula or whether it's taxable or not taxable. Okay, so obviously it will depend on what exactly their item is. If they're earnings, then they will be taxable. If they're deductions, then they shouldn't be taxable. Then there are things that are recurring. So if you have a loan that is being paid every month, you expect it to be recurring so that it's forever coming on the payroll until the date when it falls off, when it becomes fully paid off. Okay, so that is for the payroll codes. And another very, very important feature for me to demonstrate to you is a feature for payroll formulas. I'm sure when you also saw on our website, we talk of Jada as being fully formula driven. It simply means that you can actually be able to do any sort of formula in the system, and you're actually able to do any change, create new variables or what we call rates. And I'll show you for an example. Is like this overtime formula that the system allows you to store a formula whereby you're able to pick a rate. Obviously, the rate being the number of hours for the overtime, then the basic pay divided by your parameters, the number of work days and the number of days in a divided by the number of hours in a day, and obviously times the rate. Okay, and you're able to do any other sort of formula. You could also have your leave formula, and these ones can actually be changed. So whenever you see a formula that is custom, it means it can be changed, but you'll also have a scenario whereby you'll have what we call the country. These ones we do not allow the users to change, because now these ones now are driven by the income tax or the PAYE guide in terms of being compliant with the statutory bodies. So you'll always find that you're able to make any change on the custom formulas, but you'll not be able to make changes on the country formulas. Okay. Good. Now, another thing that you'll also be able to do is you can actually be able to do your payroll ledgers. So like we talked of integrating with other accounting systems, so you can actually be able to come here and set up your payroll ledger so that now you're able to use this to integrate with your accounting system. You can also, it also allows you to say whether it's an income statement or a balance sheet. And also you're able to link with the departments like we had also mentioned. We'll also get to see how that works, and you're also able to do a mapping. Mapping simply means which payroll codes do you want to go to which GL or which cost center or balance sheet account in your accounting system. Okay. Now, in terms of that was all about payroll setup, then we have the feature for employee posting. So you're actually able to do employee posting where you do one-by-one posting or a batch posting. So let's say, for example, it's the end of the month and you've gotten all your overtime hours, or even changing. There's maybe a salary review and you want to change quite a number of earnings or allowances in your payroll, then you can actually be able to use a batch posting feature to do that. Or you can actually be able to do the employee posting. This is when if you need to do a change on only one, okay? So maybe, for example, you just want to add, maybe, for example, this person has say a transport allowance, you're just able to come and say add. Obviously, it defaults to the current period and obviously picks the person, and then you're able to put your allowances. So like this one, maybe let's say, for example, it's transport allowance, you're able to put that and you're able to put in the amount of that, and then you're able to put that and add it onto the payroll, okay? So all these are the items that have been added and also processed for this person, okay? Good. Also on payroll processing, you're also able to do what you call, once you've done all your entries and everything else, you're actually able to do a payroll processing. This one will actually do now, take all the formulas that we are looking at, work on the rates and work on all the other, depending on the tax tables, and actually come up with what we call now your final processed payroll. So you can only be able to now generate your pay slips after you've done your process, because that's the only way you've actually done all the processes. Okay, so this one will have to wait until all you've done all the new entries, your new employees, then you're able to process. Then from there, you're able to review your payroll, okay? And then there's a feature that we call the month end, okay? So month end is like we're saying currently in the month of April. So once you've done with all your processing, you're actually able to come here and do the month end. So the month end has to be like your final stage of the payroll, whereby everything has been done, it has been approved, and now you're ready to, maybe the only thing that you need to do is maybe make payments for statutory or anything else, but the payroll is approved, then you're able to close the month, okay? Good. So we'll also be able to get the reports. So Jada gives you different reports. So like there's a payroll reports that these ones now are what, after the payroll has been processed, you're actually able to run your payslips, okay? Okay, good. So we'll go into the payslip feature. So it allows you to pick the month that you want to run. You can also select a certain, if you want to run for a certain employee, or if you want all, you can just leave it the way it was and it will give you for everyone. But now I want to just see for one. So this is how a payslip will look like. Obviously, it allows you to set up your own logo, and obviously the details that you set up. And also it allows you to do what kind of information you want to display. Different organizations will have a different way they'll want to display that. So it's split into the earnings, then how taxes are calculated, and then also showing you your deductions and also giving you your net pay information and also the company contributions, okay? So you can also, it allows you to do two things. You can actually be able to do a physical printout, or you can actually be able to send an email through a password encrypted PDF document, okay? So that is for payslips. Another very important report that is very popular is what we call the company summary. So the company summary now will be more of like a sort of a wide report that will come in handy, especially for reviewing or when you want to see your payslip more or less in a sort of a one pager, okay? So it allows you to see all the earnings, deductions. So you're able to see all the allowances and giving you your gross pay, then your deductions, all the way giving you to your net pay and also the mode of payment and also a section on the company contributions. Okay, then below here it also gives you a summary of what your payroll cost is. Okay, so it can give you this is a total payroll cost and what is the makeup of that. Okay, so this summary comes in handy, especially when someone is reviewing the payroll. They're actually able to use this, or even to be a supporting document for the payments that will be made to third parties. So this really comes in handy, whereby you're actually able to compare, you're able to see the figures up there and also see the summary down here. Okay, so this is also driven by a mapping. There's obviously the default mapping with all the statutory deductions, but in case they are new, you can always add them. And in case you find that there's no, it's the two of them are not in agreement, then it means maybe there's a new deduction that has not been matched, and you can always match that. Okay, good. So also in payroll processing and in files. So another very important, maybe we can go through statutory payments. So the system gives you both the monthly and the annual payments. So on the monthly ones, you can actually be able to see your PAYE report, obviously in the format that is totally accepted by KRA. So like this is an example of how, so this format is exactly how KRA wants it, and you can actually be able to send it to CSV in the exact format ready for upload on the iTax. Okay. Good. Similar to the other statutory bodies. So like, for example, if there is NSSF or NHIF, you can also pick NHIF. Okay. So you can also see here for NHIF, it is in the format that is required, and you can also send it to Excel so that it's ready for upload on the iTax portal. Okay. Good. On the payroll, so you have all the statutories there. You also have your bank files. Okay. So for detail, for mine here, you can see there's my bank file showing a summary of the bank branch codes and account numbers, and also giving me my net pay. Okay. So the application has a functionality to send to any bank. Provided we have the format, we can actually be able to have that. The moment you press on there, whichever bank, or you select the bank that you require, it is going to generate for you a CSV, a file in the specific format that the bank requires it. And the only thing that you'll need to do is to upload it, okay, on that portal. Then it can go through the normal approvals on your bank application or bank online login, okay. Good. Another one is a journal. So we discussed about integrating with other applications. Okay. So the moment we do this, so the application will actually give you a payroll journal. Okay. So the moment you've done your processing and all your values are in the application, the system gives you what we call a payroll journal. And depending on which application you're using or how you set up your payroll journals, you're actually able to export this so that you'll just upload the file onto your accounting system. You don't have to go in there manually and start punching figures. It actually does that. And depending on how you had configured it, it knows the values that will actually be debited and credited. And it also gives you your figures to make sure that it's balanced, okay? But you can actually see the split here for the departments. So depending on your departments, you'll actually see your cost being split into those departments, so that now on the other side, you're actually able to, okay? So like for this case, we have like an export for Pastel. So Pastel obviously will need you to have a, say, let's say, for example, this was for April, and maybe on the other side, it's a 4. So the application does for us an extract of the journal in exact way the system will accept it. Okay, so it gives you like how exactly that application, like for Pastel, this is how it requires its data. So your work will just be to export and import on the other side, so that you don't have to spend or waste time trying to do that again. Okay, good. And then we also have another feature that we call the scheduler. Okay, so the scheduler now will allow you could have different reports in your organization, whereby you want, like an example is like a circle, you have a new circle and your circle needs information in a certain format. So what the scheduler allows you to is to select the format to come up with a schedule with the required details that you require. So this is a very important feature, because obviously there are quite a number of different organizations or people that you will be having deductions made against. It could also be a bank that needs a schedule. It could also be your own internal way of doing an analysis. Maybe you want to do a comparative of last month's earnings and this month's earning. You also want to be able to do any comparative, maybe between or pick, for example, for one payroll code, you want to see maybe a 12-month report showing all in a column base what kind of analysis you need. The scheduler will actually help you with that. And it obviously, like you can see, there's what we call the employee filter or the payroll code filter. So one of it will actually be based on the employee data, meaning you're able to have your employees as your rows, the other one payroll codes as your row. Okay, just depending on how you want to do an analysis of your data. Okay, now good. Then another quick one is I'll switch on my screens up there. I'll go on to what we are calling the, this is what we call the employee portal. So the employee portal, the moment you are actually set up on the payroll, it actually creates for you a portal. So the portal will allow you now to log in now, not as an administrator of the payroll or as a payroll administrator function, but now as an employee, just to view your payslip or do any other. Okay, so good. So for this one, I'll also use my, so this will be very different credentials from what I used to log into there. Good, there we are in. So here you can see the landing page is a bit different. Obviously, there's a dashboard, not too many parameters for now, but here it allows you to get to see your profile. So your profile, you're actually able to see what the basic information that is already set up here. You'll not be able to make any changes, but you're actually able to see the contact details, all the details that were set against you. So in case there are things that you need to request for change or anything, you can actually be able to see yourself what is not accurate. Okay, so that is on profile. On payroll, you're actually able to come here and generate your own payslip. So if for any requirement you need to go in and pick up a payslip, you've been requested for payslips maybe somewhere for the last 3 months, you actually really don't have to request it from your payroll or your HR department. You can actually be able to generate here, and you can be able to pick even for previous periods, and you can actually be able to do maybe like this is what the payroll was for January, and you're actually able to print it out. Okay, you're also able to generate your own P9. Okay, so like let's say for example, for maybe I want to see my P9 for last year. So there you go. So the application gives us the P9 right there. Okay, and you're able to print it, and you can be able to generate it on, and you can actually be able to do this on your own, generate it, and continue and go fill in the income tax return. Okay, good. So for today, I would like to stop there. So thank you so much for watching the video. and hope to see you on our next video. Thank you.